What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about why I'm a little worried about game delays going into the fall. Now, this, I think, is a good opportunity to talk about game delays in general, right? Because we just had, I believe, one solid week this whole week where we had quite a few things happen. We had Knights of the Old Republic being kind of delayed indefinitely, maybe 2025, maybe it's canceled. We had Lord of the Rings Gollum being delayed, which comes out in less than 2 months, about a month and a half, and it was delayed to who knows when, right? They didn't give an actual date afterwards. And then we had Warhammer 40k Darktide getting delayed, and it got a release date about 2 months after it was supposed to come out, but only on PC. The Xbox versions also don't have a date. So there's something to be said about that situation in general, but also then there's the worry of, okay, well, obviously there's a lot of games coming out in the fall, and there's a lot to talk about. I'm honestly pretty excited to do this. So first things first, and I say this in every video, but obviously just in case you're new, I am in support of delays. If a game needs to get delayed, I understand it. Now, while I'm in support, while I understand it, doesn't mean I have to like it, right? I think that's kind of an odd thing that's popped up. I think Twitter, obviously, Hell on Earth has obviously helped that out, where it's like you're not allowed to be disappointed or upset, even just in the slightest, right? You have to just be fully backing like every decision that any company ever makes, and I'm not really for that. I get it if the game comes out in a better condition later down the line than when it was supposed to come out, the delay is worth it, right? I have no doubt Warhammer, Gollum, even Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, if Knights of the Old Republic came out this year instead of 3 years from now, I'm sure there'd be quite a difference, right? I mean, you can obviously just kind of expect that. So I understand delays, but it doesn't mean I have to necessarily be happy about them, and I really am not. I'm a gamer at heart. I want games to come out, and then I play them when they do release. So we've talked about this one aspect of it before, the delaying games so soon or so close to when the game actually comes out, right? We had like an era, it seemed like, over the past couple of years because of, certain things in the world where games would be pushed long before they'd even be coming out, right? And I've given the example, like Hogwarts Legacy and Gotham Knights, two really big ones. They didn't even have dates. They had year dates. Like, they were supposed to come out in 2021, and they said in the beginning of 2021, yeah, we're not doing that. We're going to come out next year. And at the time, obviously very disappointed. I was very disappointed, and it's like, well, you didn't even give a date. You didn't even give a month, and yet you're delaying it completely out of the year. Again, I mean, understandable. Again, those two games still aren't out yet, right? So it's like, well, obviously they weren't going to be able to come out in 2021. But on the reverse side of things, you have games now like Lord of the Rings, which was 6 weeks maybe from, I mean, some games go gold. It's 6 weeks before, which means they're done, right? They say they gone gold and they're finished. And this game delays itself, and it's like, and again, like, fine, it's okay. I get it, but it's like, I don't like the trajectory. I don't like the way it's going, right? 6 weeks before, I'm planning the September, but also it's just like it's so close to the game releasing and you delay it. All right, so there's that aspect of it. Not a fan. I actually think I'd prefer to let me know like 4, 5, 6 months in advance. If you really think you can't make it, right? You do like a Starfield thing. If you really think you can't make it, delay it. You know what I mean? Don't wait until 1 to 2 months before, because to me that's not very cool. That's pretty poor communication skills just in general. Now, the thing obviously that worries me going into the fall is October. Okay, so like September we just had, and Gollum and Darktide, right, are not the biggest games of all time. They're not. They're not going to sell like 10 million units, right? I think Warhammer, obviously being Lord of the Rings, right? So they're both established franchises. Gollum, obviously being Lord of the Rings, pretty darn gigantic. Yet again, I don't know how well that game would do. Darktide being Warhammer, and then also it's a Game Pass game, so I think that would help it, right? But September now is kind of light. At least it's a lot lighter than it was, because you just lost 2 games in the first 16, 17 days. The first half of September, you just lost 2 games. So I guess my worry is, well, October, right? October is I guess you could say November as well. October and November are like, that's it for the year for gaming. And this brings me into kind of part 2 what I want to talk about here. This year has been odd. This year has been really odd. Now, I have played many games so far this year. I intend to play many more this year. So I'm not saying this year has been like completely dead, but it's been more dead with games, I think, than people really give it credit for. Or I guess realize, let's say. people always go to February, right? People say, oh my God, February was absolutely like gigantic. Yeah, February was, but February was kind of it. And February really only had, right, the 4 games that kind of came out like every single week all in a row, and there was a little overlap, but you had Dying Light 2, you had Sifu, you had Horizon, and then you had Elden Ring. And you had all 4 of those games in the month of February. And while, Horizon's big, Elden Ring like broke records, top 10 selling game, what of all time. So it's like, obviously that was kind of a big deal. But I think that kind of masks that this year has been very uneven. Like there has been games. I think I've played maybe 18 or so new games that have released in the year I've played. Maybe closer to, maybe it is 20. I think I did like a ranking video. So there has been games. I'm actually one of the people that say, when people say, oh, there's been nothing that's released this year, I'm like, well, there has been. There has been like at least 10, 15, 20 things. But it's been a much more uneven year than I think people kind of think, because you think of February, but then let me think of the other months. And the other months are a lot more uneven. Like you had Lego Star Wars in April, and that was kind of it. May had Evil Dead, and that was kind of it. June had The Quarry, and that was kind of, again, there's some games, there's other games, but like the big ones that people think of, or when you think of, was this year like all that good of a year? It was a very uneven year so far. So what does that have to do with any of this, right? Well, the fall, I think, is what people think of when they think, oh, yeah, this year has kind of been stacked, a little bit. I think the fall is kind of what is going to make that statement true if it actually happens, right? The October period is nuts. I know people have said, this gets a little annoying, I know people have said, well, what even comes out in October? And I'll list in the comments, I'll list like the 8-9 games that are like genuinely big, solid, like they should be really good games that are coming out in October. There's a legitimate amount of games. I think when I list them, there's like 8 or 9 that are like, there, right? And then I'm sure I'm biased, so I'm missing a couple of them, right? October's huge. November is huge. Can we please not do the delay thing? And also, if we keep with the system that seems like developers are doing, it means we're not going to even find out till like next month. So like next month, we could find out Plague Tale could be delayed. Maybe Marvel's Midnight Suns gets delayed again, right? Gotham Knights, God, I hope it stays. Like a God of War, I hope that's obviously November. I hope that stays. Like, again, I'm not saying this is not like a doomsday video either, where it's like, oh my God, every one of your favorite October games is going to be pushed. I just wonder, because it's not what I guess this week, literally 1 week, has done to me is like, because no game has ever really been safe. The release date for games has been safe, right? And especially over the last 3 years, it's been nuts. I mean, more games have been delayed in the last 3 years than I feel, at least when I've been paying attention. I've probably been paying attention for like 6, 7, 8 years. More games have been delayed in these last 3 years than the 5 years before, all combined. Like, it very easily. And so it's almost like you come to expect it, right? Like, most games, maybe 50%, maybe 60% of games are going to get delayed in some way at some time. Now, the thing is, a lot of the games in October have been pushed from other things, right? Plague Tale, you could argue. I feel like that one probably didn't. Marvel's Midnight Suns, though, that did get delayed. You have a game like Scorn, that got delayed. Gotham Knights, that got delayed. A lot of, there's like 3 to 4 games. And I'm sure I'm missing, again, like I can't think of all of them right now. There's a lot that have already been pushed. So hopefully, like, that means that they're all coming out. You know what I mean? It's tough. Because also, like, delaying these things, it does stack, just like in movies, like what we're seeing in the entertainment industry with movies, like delaying them over the last year and a half, 2 years has now factually created like a stacking thing where there's more, like if you look in the 2023 for films, there's more movies releasing very, very close to each other than we've seen in the last 3-4 years. It's much more like days past, like 2018, 2017, where big blockbuster movie really only has maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks to itself, and then there's another blockbuster movie that comes out, and maybe that's a good thing. That's a good thing probably for us from an entertainment perspective, not necessarily for them, because you can't see all of them. And it's really, honestly, it's, in my opinion, it's the same thing for games. Money's tight, the economy, we're in the recession, like there's a lot of stuff going on. When you hear, 8 to 9 games that are, like, for me, 8 to 9 games, that's awesome. how am I going to spend, $600-700 in the month of October on these games? Like, that is a problem. Not everybody can do that. Heck, I don't even know if I can do that, right? And like, that is factually, I think, gonna hurt some of these games because you have to make decisions. So maybe this is a doomsday video ultimately, because honestly, no matter what, like, it is good in a way where, I guess, stacking, where it's like, well, there's gonna be a game, at least one, for pretty much anybody in October, and let's even stretch it. For those that have said there's been absolutely nothing that's come out this entire year that has won me over, October, November, December, there should at least be one. And if there's not one, I really question what you like to play. You know what I mean? If it's Hogwarts, great. If it's God of War, if it's Gotham Knights, if it's Plague Tale, if it's Marvel's Midnight Suns, if it's The Last of Us, if it's Pokemon. I mean, like, there's a game for everybody, right? There's Call of Duty, there's a shooter. So if you don't like one of the 40 games that are coming out between September and December, I don't really know where you stand. But that's getting a little off track, right? At the same time, it doesn't really get off track, because that's what happens with all these games getting delayed. So I guess the final thing to say is, these October games, these November games, these December games, I am getting more worried because this last week we literally had 3 game delays, 3 out of 5 days and I'm recording this on the Friday morning. Who knows? I mean, later today there could be something, right? But so far we've had 3 days, 3 out of the 5 days we've had a game delayed, and that's from September and then an unknown date for Knights of the Old Republic. We haven't even gotten, again, to October. Like, what's going to happen then? Forspoken got delayed a couple weeks ago, maybe last month. So it's like, it's not impossible for October games to be hit. So maybe next month, I'd imagine next month, right, we'll see if any of these games are going to get pushed. And there's still a couple of games that need release dates, like Hogwarts Legacy still needs a release date. The Outlast Trials that everybody forgets about at least once a day, that game needs a release date, and I don't think that game probably comes out this year, but hopefully, maybe it does. Maybe it can fill in a spot from September, then another game left. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I'll see you all on the next one.